Everyone's doing well. I'm Saeed. If you're new around here, I like posting content about what I'm learning and sharing it with you guys. And I've made a series of videos on learning GoLang, creating miniature projects and tools, CLI tools mainly. And if you know me, you know I'm pretty big on Kubernetes, so this tool had to be about Kubernetes. I've got a local K3s setup on this laptop, and we're going to be, let me give you the scenario of what exactly is going on so you can get the whole picture. So we want to know every pod that's associated to a given service, and we want to know how they're associated. So if you know about Kubernetes, you know that conventionally within Kubernetes, you associate services and pods based on labels and selectors. And we do just that. We loop through the selectors, and we loop through, the selectors of the services, and we loop through the labels of those pods. We basically cross-compare them. How does it look when you run it? I'll show you. At the moment, I'm authenticating using my kubeconfig file, but you can pass the flag -kubeconfig and specify a config file for a different cluster if you've got multiple clusters in your environment. So let's take this initial output, the first output. We've got a service. The service is Saed's -LB, load balancer, and that marries up with Saed's pod. How does it marry up? It marries up with one of these labels / selectors. And the way we do that is, I'll show you the code in a moment, but we use the strings.contains function. So here we can see it marries up with one of these labels. And if we do kubectl get pods, Saed's pod specifically, show labels, we'll see one of these labels. App is as the key, and the value being Saed's LB is the first one that is married up with. We can disregard the second one, but we can see here again, the label is run as the key and the value being Saed's pod. Now if we could do the same thing for the services, or the service that it's married up with, Saed's LB. Could check the service, and again here you've got your app as the key and the value being Saed's LB. The second label isn't really associated, it's not really necessary, it's married up with one of them. So if we have a look at the services, a bit closer into the services, kubectl edit service Saed's LB, and have a look at the selector, we can find here we've got that app being the key and the value being Saed's LB. You get the idea, right? Cool. Now let's take you through the code. So first things first, we authenticate, like I said, using the kubeconfig file that we have. Again, you can pass that flag using the flag library, right? We use a number of different libraries. We've got the standard library, and we've got the client Go open source library from Kubernetes. We set the kubeconfig, or the value of the kubeconfig, to the config in and of itself, and that config gets passed as a config for the client set, which interacts with our K3s cluster. Set in the context, we have the pods initially, so we basically we pull in the pods, or the config for the pods, using the core v1 API and the pods function. That pods here, we pass through the parameter. We can pass through a specific namespace, but if we don't, then it will loop through every namespace, and we use the list command. Handling any errors, we declare a map that we later initialize the values of the actual pods items, right? Specifically the labels and the key and value of those labels. The key and value have both been concatenated into a single string, right? Separated by the colon, as you would typically see in any key value, right? And set as the value of our map. These could be named a lot better, but again, learning curves, we're kind of going ahead with it. This isn't supposed to be industry standard, but you can kind of muck about with either contribute or drop a comment down below if you have anything to add to this, or any of your thoughts for that matter. The key of that map is the name of the pod, so that way we're keeping track of our labels. So we have the name of the pod and the key value within the pod, and later that will come in handy, so bear with. We do the same thing for the services. We bring out each of those services, again, similarly through the core v1 library, or the API, sorry. Services, again, being the resource that we're looking for, and here within all namespaces. hence it's been left out. So we're listing it, of course. Handling the errors again, we do the same thing, looping through each of those items, and within each of those items, we loop through each of their selectors, pulling down the key value of those selectors, concatenating them into a single variable, a single string variable, separated by that colon. And again, we loop through the map that we initialize with the key value of the pods labels, comparing the key values of the selectors against the key values of the labels. And here whenever we find a match, we print out the service name and the pod name, as well as where it's matched on, or the key value of that's matched, the label / selector that's matched. If you like these sorts of videos, do let me know. I'll continue, building these tools anyway. The code will be down in the description box below my repository. And yeah, I've created a Discord channel for you guys to join if you like. I do stream on there once a week, looking to build out a bit of a community there. So if you are looking to upskill, you find these sorts of content useful, then definitely do reach out. Let me know what you guys think for sure. Till next time.